The hum of machinery filled the air, a constant rhythm that echoed through the vast expanse of the Gamma 7 distribution center. A faint scent of oil and metal lingered, a familiar comfort for Maria Santos, the night guard on duty. She had spent countless hours navigating the labyrinth of shelves stacked high with packages destined for various corners of the galaxy. The dim light of the overhead panels flickered occasionally, casting shadows that danced along the walls, making the mundane feel otherworldly. Tonight, however, something felt off. Maria rubbed her eyes, the fatigue creeping in after hours of scanning ID tags and monitoring the security feeds. The glow of screens illuminated her face, but a nagging sensation gnawed at her. Something was different about the energy shield that enveloped the center. It felt weaker, less reliable than before. She sighed, shaking her head, trying to dispel the unease that had settled in her stomach like a rock. Get a grip, she muttered to herself, adjusting the collar of her uniform. The Gamma 7 distribution center was her home away from home. If something was wrong, it was her responsibility to fix it, even if no one else seemed to notice. She stepped away from her post and approached the energy shield's control panel, a cluster of blinking lights and switches that felt foreign to her. Maria's heart raced as she examined the interface. She had no formal training in tech, just the instinct honed from years of being resourceful. An odd sense of pride washed over her. This was her territory, after all, and she was ready to protect it. As she crouched down to get a better look, her fingers brushed against the cool metal of the panel. The shield flickered, and a soft buzzing sound filled the air, like the static before a storm. She leaned closer, squinting at the display that showed the shield's status. Red lights blinked ominously. Not good, she whispered, biting her lip. Maria racked her brain for any knowledge she had absorbed over the years, piecing together bits and pieces from conversations with the tech staff. She pressed a sequence of buttons, her fingers moving with a mixture of intuition and sheer hope. A burst of energy crackled through the shield, illuminating her face in a bright blue glow. For a moment, she thought she had done it. But then the lights faded, leaving her in the dimness of the center once more. Come on, she hissed, frustration bubbling to the surface. Not now. Not when we're this close to the delivery shift. She leaned back, the harsh metal of the control panel digging into her palms, and took a moment to breathe. As she did, something caught her eye. A faint flicker at the edge of the shield, where it connected to the outer wall. It pulsed irregularly, almost like a heartbeat. Intrigued, she leaned in closer to examine the anomaly. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the facility. Maria's heart raced, and the instinct to back away flared up, but she forced herself to stay grounded. The rumbling grew louder, vibrating through her bones. She squinted into the dim light, searching for the source. The flickering grew more pronounced, and Maria realized that the energy shield was malfunctioning in a potentially catastrophic way. It was supposed to protect the center from any external threats, alien invasions, in particular. For a brief moment, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. The Gamma 7 Center wasn't just a distribution hub, it was a frontline barrier against chaos. If the shield failed, everything inside its borders would be vulnerable, exposed to whatever lurked beyond the stars. Okay, think, Maria, she murmured, drawing on the determination that had always driven her. She had fixed bikes and dealt with rowdy kids back when she worked at the community center. This couldn't be much different, could it? With a renewed sense of purpose, Maria began to troubleshoot the panel, desperately trying to get a better understanding of how it worked. The control interface was a jigsaw puzzle she needed to solve. She pressed buttons randomly, hoping for a miracle. Please, don't let this be the end, she prayed to no one in particular. As she fidgeted with the controls, her focus was interrupted by a faint sound of metal scraping against metal. It was soft at first, nearly imperceptible. She turned her head sharply toward the source of the noise, heart racing once more. The shadows cast by the flickering lights seemed to deepen, whispering secrets that sent a chill down her spine. Hello? Is anyone there? Maria called out, her voice echoing against the empty shelves. The sound of her own words felt surreal, a reminder of her solitude. No response came, yet the scraping noise persisted, growing louder, accompanied by a low, unrecognizable hum. Maria's instincts kicked in. She wasn't just a night guard, she was a protector. Standing tall, she slowly made her way toward the sound, cautious but resolute. The energy shield pulsed again, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls as she approached the corner of the room. Maria's heart raced as she peered around the edge of a shelf, and what she saw made her freeze in her tracks. There, darting past a stack of crates, was a figure unlike any she had seen. It was small and lithe, with skin that shimmered like reflections on water, flickering between shades. An alien. The creature paused, its large eyes glinting with curiosity and perhaps fear. It was unlike the imaginary aliens portrayed in the movies. There was a fragility to it, a hint of vulnerability that sparked an unexpected surge of empathy within Maria. Hey, she exclaimed, her voice a mix of surprise and intrigue. The alien flinched but didn't flee. Instead, it regarded her with a mix of wariness and interest. For a moment, everything around them faded into obscurity. The energy shield's flickering lights became a background to this new encounter, and Maria realized that this moment was far more significant than she had initially anticipated. The malfunctioning shield wasn't just a problem to solve, it was an opportunity, an opening. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice softer now, sensing the creature's trepidation. In the stillness of the moment, the weight of responsibility bore down heavier than ever. This wasn't just about a security breach, it was about understanding a new world, one she hadn't even begun to comprehend. But the alien didn't respond verbally. Instead, it pointed toward the energy shield, its expression shifting from fear to determination, and Maria's mind began to race. It was as if it were questioning her methods, just when she thought she had everything under control. The threads of their destinies were now intertwined. Maria was no longer just a watchful guard during the night, she was a bridge between worlds. And as the hum of the shield continued its ominous pulse, she began to realize the true scope of the challenge ahead. This encounter marked the beginning of an unexpected journey, one that would challenge her perceptions and force her to confront what it meant to be human in a universe filled with uncertainty. The shield, the alien, and the night guard all were bound together by a single truth: the fate of the Gamma 7 distribution center, and perhaps more, rested on the choices they were about to make. Maria's focused gaze remained fixed on the flickering energy shield, her mind racing to comprehend its impending failure. The soft buzzing noise morphed into a more pronounced crackle, making her pulse quicken. Just as she considered her next move, a low, resonant voice echoed through the distribution center. "Human, you must cease your tinkering." Startled, Maria spun around, her hands instinctively tightening into fists. Standing before her was an alien creature, tall and imposing, with iridescent skin that shimmered in shades of blue and green under the dim lights. The alien's large, expressive eyes gazed at her with a mix of curiosity and concern. This was Zektar. "What are you doing here?" Maria blurted out, her heart still racing from the unexpected encounter. "I am Zektar, emissary of the Zalkai. Your shield is outdated, and it poses a threat not just to your facility, but to your entire sector," he stated calmly, his voice deep and melodic, as though each word was carefully chosen. Maria's mind raced. "Outdated? We've relied on this shield for years. What do you mean by a threat?" Zektar approached the control panel, examining it with a critical eye. "The technology you possess is primitive by our standards. Should an interstellar conflict arise, your shield will fail. I have come to assist you." Maria felt a surge of frustration. "Assist? How exactly? This is my job. I know how to handle this place." "Your determination is admirable, but you lack the necessary tools. The solution requires advanced technology that can only be provided by the Zalkai." He gestured toward the flickering shield, which was now pulsing erratically, almost in sync with the rhythm of her heartbeat. "Look, I appreciate the help, but I've dealt with problems in this facility before. We don't need alien tech to fix things," Maria insisted, her voice rising as she crossed her arms defensively. Zektar regarded her with a hint of amusement. "Human ingenuity is commendable, yet it must coexist with technology beyond your comprehension. You can adapt. It is the key to survival." "Survival?" Maria scoffed. "What are you suggesting? That I give up everything I've learned just because you think your way is better?" The alien's expression softened slightly, and he tilted his head. "I am not suggesting you abandon your wisdom. Rather, I propose a partnership, a blend of your instincts with our technology. Together, we can enhance the shield's effectiveness." Maria felt a flicker of intrigue but was hesitant. "Why should I trust that your technology will work? What makes it better than what we have?" Zektar stepped closer, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if he was gauging her reaction. "Our technology has stood the test of millennia against threats far greater than you face. You must consider that the galaxy is vast and filled with dangers you cannot currently comprehend." "What kind of dangers?" Maria asked, her skepticism battling against her curiosity. "Galactic marauders, gravitational anomalies, and ancient weapon systems," he replied, his tone serious. "Your shield is a mere illusion of safety. It will not hold against such forces." Maria's mind swirled as she processed his words. "Okay, so let's say I'm interested. What does this partnership look like?" Zektar's demeanor shifted to a more collaborative tone. "First, we must stabilize your energy shield. I can introduce my technology to your system, but it will require your cooperation. We will need to communicate effectively as we work together." A sliver of hope ignited within Maria. "All right, I'm willing to listen. But if we're going to do this, we have to be on the same page. No alien jargon, just straight talk." "Agreed," Zektar nodded, and for the first time, Maria noticed a genuine warmth in his gaze. "Let us initiate the connection." As they worked together, Maria discovered that Zektar had a unique way of explaining things. He simplified complex concepts, breaking them down into manageable steps. She felt an odd sense of relief as he demonstrated how to recalibrate the shield's power settings, intertwining human logic with alien efficiency. "What do you call this process?" she asked, intrigued. "We refer to it as synthesis, merging our knowledge. Your perspective as a human is essential, for you understand the environment you protect better than I ever could," he explained, his tone earnest. "Okay, so I'm like your human liaison?" Maria said, a smile creeping onto her face. "Correct. You will be the bridge between our two worlds," Zektar replied, his voice imbued with confidence. Hours passed as they delved deeper into the intricacies of the shield. Maria felt her initial frustration ebbing away, replaced by a growing sense of camaraderie. They shared stories of their respective worlds. Zektar spoke of the Zalkai home planet, rich with bioluminescent flora, while Maria recounted tales of Earth's vibrant sunsets and the smell of fresh rain on concrete, a detail that sparked a fascination in Zektar. "I never imagined your world could be so fragrant," he mused, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's all about the little things," Maria replied, her heart warming with the realization that despite their differences, they were finding common ground. Yet, as they worked, an undercurrent of tension persisted. Maria couldn't shake the feeling that their collaboration was only a temporary fix. The looming threat outside the shield weighed heavily on her mind. "Zektar, what if your technology doesn't hold?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with concern. "What if we can't adapt fast enough?" Zektar paused, his gaze piercing into hers. "Then we must prepare for the unknown. However, I believe in human ingenuity. You possess a resilience that is unmatched. Let's just hope we don't have to test that resilience anytime soon," Maria muttered, glancing back at the control panel, where the shield flickered ominously. With the initial connection established, they worked late into the night, driven by a shared goal. But as the hours dragged on, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that something was just beyond the edge of the shield, something waiting for the moment when humanity's defenses would falter. As they finalized their configurations, Maria's gaze met Zektar's. "I guess we're in this together now, huh?" Zektar inclined his head. "Indeed, Maria. Together, we will redefine the boundaries of safety. And together, we will face whatever comes next." "Bring it on," she said, determination surging through her once more. Little did they know, the challenges ahead would test not just their technology, but the very fabric of their understanding of each other and the universe beyond the Gamma 7 distribution center. Maria felt the tension in the air shift as she and Zektar began their collaborative effort on the energy shield. The aliens' large eyes glinted with a blend of curiosity and respect as they surveyed the control panel. Maria took a deep breath, allowing the weight of the moment to settle. "Okay, let's start with what you've got," she said, her tone firm yet open. Zektar nodded, unclipping a small device from his belt and placing it gently on the table in front of them. The device hummed softly, its surface pulsating with a light that mirrored the flickering shield. "This is a stabilization module. It will interface with your existing technology, enhancing its capacity," he explained, pointing to various parts of the device with a graceful movement of his long, slender fingers. Maria leaned in closer, her skepticism simmering beneath her curiosity. "And how does this work? I mean, it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie," she commented, half joking, half serious. "It does appear strange to you," Zektar replied, his voice calm, "but the principles are straightforward. Energy flow and modulation are universal concepts. You will see that your methods can indeed complement ours." He gestured for her to assist him as he began to outline the connections that needed to be made. Tentatively, Maria reached for the stabilization module, her fingers brushing against the cool surface. "So, I connect this to the power source?" she asked, looking for clarity. "Correct," Zektar confirmed, his gaze focused. "But first, we must calibrate our frequencies to ensure compatibility." Maria felt a flicker of pride at his approval but quickly pushed it aside. "All right, let's just get this done. I'll handle the wiring." She grabbed a few tools from the nearby workbench, the familiar feel of metal in her hands sparking a sense of comfort. As she worked, she realized that her practical experience was merging with Zektar's advanced knowledge in a way that felt strangely harmonious. As they worked side by side, a rhythm began to form. Maria would connect wires while Zektar adjusted the energy flow, both of them communicating in a blend of technical terms and simple language. "You see, the energy must be harmonized," he instructed, demonstrating with a graceful flick of his wrist how to adjust the flow. "If we optimize this, it should stabilize the shield's operation." Maria nodded, but her mind was racing. "You know, it's kind of fascinating how similar our problems are, despite the differences in our technology," she said, glancing at him. "It's just like fixing a faulty circuit." Zektar tilted his head, his expression revealing a hint of surprise. "You compare our work to your circuits? That is an interesting perspective. I had assumed you would find it too primitive. Primitive? Maria raised an eyebrow, feeling a swell of indignation. Just because it's not shiny and new doesn't mean it's not effective. I've seen this shield hold up against storms and power surges. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. She felt a sense of ownership over her experience, and it was a point of pride she wasn't going to let go. Zektar's gaze softened. Indeed, your confidence in your methods is admirable. It is a reminder that wisdom can come from the most unexpected sources. He paused, his tone becoming more serious. However, there are threats that require more than just ingenuity. We must be prepared for the unknown. Their conversation sparked a deeper connection, and Maria found herself sharing stories about her experiences as a night guard. The late hours, the occasional alarms, and the sense of responsibility she felt to protect the facility. Zektar listened intently, occasionally interjecting with questions that made her reflect on her role in a way she hadn't before. Your position requires vigilance and quick thinking, he mused. In that, you are already demonstrating qualities that are invaluable. The ability to adapt is critical in both our worlds. Maria's chest swelled with pride, and she realized she trusted Zektar more now. I guess we both have our battles to fight, she said, smiling. But just as the air between them began to feel lighter, a sudden alarm blared through the distribution center, the sound slicing through their moment of camaraderie. Maria's heart raced as she instinctively turned to the control panel. What now? She exclaimed, her instincts kicking in. Zektar quickly assessed the situation, his eyes darting across the flashing lights. The energy shield is fluctuating. We must stabilize it before the alarm escalates into a full lockdown. Maria's heart sank as she felt the weight of urgency pressing down on her. I thought we had more time, she shouted, her voice laced with panic. Zektar remained calm, his focus unwavering. Do not fear. We can do this. We must recalibrate the shield's output together. Together, she echoed, taking a steadying breath. Let's do this. They moved in tandem, their hands working swiftly to adjust the controls. Maria's mind raced, recalling the principles she had learned from years of experience. We need to apply a temporary surge to the stabilizer. It might buy us some time, she suggested, her voice steadying. Zektar hesitated, considering the potential risks. That is unorthodox. The system might overload, or it might just hold long enough for us to fix it properly. We have no other choice. Maria insisted, her pulse quickening. With a nod, Zektar agreed. Very well, let us proceed. As they executed their plan, Maria felt a sense of empowerment surge through her. This was her domain, and she was no longer just a night guard, she was a crucial player in this high-stakes game. The shield flickered violently before stabilizing, the alarms gradually quieting down. The tension released from both of their shoulders as they took a step back, breathing heavily. We did it, Maria said, a smile breaking across her face. Zektar looked at her, admiration evident in his gaze. Your primitive solution has proven effective. Perhaps there is much more to learn from each other than I initially thought, he acknowledged. As they exchanged a moment of triumph, Maria felt a deeper connection forming between them, a partnership built on mutual respect. Yet, there was still an underlying unease. What happens next? She asked, her curiosity piquing. Zektar's expression grew serious once more. We must continue to enhance the shield. There are still challenges ahead, and I suspect our collaboration will uncover more than just technological solutions. With the weight of the galaxy pressing on their shoulders and the promise of new revelations ahead, Maria felt ready for whatever lay ahead. The night was far from over, and she was prepared to face it. The invader within her own world had become an ally. Maria's hands danced across the control panel, her fingers deftly connecting wires while Zektar adjusted the flow of energy. The air was thick with anticipation, the soft hum of machinery punctuated by the occasional crackle of static electricity. It was a familiar sound but felt more ominous now with the impending pressure of their task. Is it done? Maria asked, glancing at Zektar, who was bent over the panel, his keen eyes focused on the intricate connections. Not yet, he replied, his tone steady, but the energy levels are stabilizing. We are close. As they worked, a sudden surge of power coursed through the facility, sending a shudder through the control panel. Maria's heart raced. What was that? Zektar straightened, his eyes wide. That was not normal. The energy levels are fluctuating beyond the acceptable parameters. Before Maria could respond, the lights flickered, then extinguished entirely, plunging them into darkness. The only illumination came from the faint glow of the stabilization module. A cold rush of dread swept over Maria. This can't be happening, she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Stay calm, Zektar instructed, his voice steady, providing an anchor amidst the chaos. Activate the emergency lights manually. Maria scrambled to the panel, her fingers fumbling over the controls. She felt the cool metal beneath her touch, grounding her as she fought to remain focused. With a quick flick, The emergency lights blinked on, casting an eerie glow over the room. The sight that greeted her was not what she had hoped for. The energy shield, once a vibrant barrier of light, flickered and sputtered before finally collapsing, leaving the facility vulnerable. "No, no, no! This is bad," she exclaimed, panic creeping into her voice. "Indeed," Zektar said, his expression grave. "We must secure the perimeter. If the shield has failed, we may have uninvited guests." As if in response to his words, a series of loud crashes echoed from outside the center. Maria's heart dropped. "What kind of guests?" "Hostile beings," Zektar replied, his voice low and urgent. "We must act quickly." Maria felt a wave of adrenaline surge through her. This was the moment that would define her as a night guard. "All right, tell me what to do." Zektar pointed towards a control panel situated near the entrance. "We need to activate the lockdown sequence. It will seal the facility and keep the intruders at bay while we figure out a plan." Without hesitation, Maria raced to the panel, her fingers flying over the keys. "What if they get inside before we can lock down? Then we will have to confront them," Zektar stated, his tone unwavering. "Have you ever faced a threat before?" "Sometimes, but never like this," Maria admitted, her pulse quickening. The thought of facing unknown enemies sent a jolt of fear through her, but she steeled herself. "I'm not backing down." With that determination, she completed the lockdown sequence just as a loud crash reverberated through the facility, rattling the walls. Maria felt the vibrations in her bones, but she forced herself to remain steady. "It's done. We're locked in." "Good," Zektar said, his voice low with urgency. "Now we need to prepare. We must be ready to defend ourselves." A loud thud echoed from the entrance, and the air was thick with tension. Maria could feel the weight of Zektar's gaze on her. "You have experience in this environment. Use it. What can we do?" Maria took a deep breath, her mind racing. "We could use the maintenance tools, there's a toolbox over there. We can make a barricade or find something to defend ourselves." "Smart thinking. Let us gather what we can," Zektar said, nodding appreciatively as they moved quickly toward the toolbox. As they collected tools, Maria felt the adrenaline heighten her senses. She could hear the unfamiliar sounds of movement outside, a rustling chaos that sent chills down her spine. "What do they look like?" she asked, her voice steadying as she focused on their task. "Varied. Some may be humanoid, others may not," Zektar replied, grabbing a heavy wrench. "But they will be formidable." "Great. Just what I needed to hear," Maria muttered, gripping a crowbar tightly in her hands. "Just keep talking. I need to know what to expect." "They are driven by instinct and aggression. Unlike us, they do not negotiate. We must be prepared to act decisively." Maria nodded, her grip tightening around the crowbar. "Decisively. Got it. But first, we need a game plan." Zektar's large eyes studied her, a flicker of admiration in their depths. "You are a natural leader, Maria. Your ability to remain composed under pressure is commendable." She felt a rush of warmth at his praise, but there was no time to dwell on it. "Let's focus on getting through this first. We'll figure out the rest later." Suddenly, the main entrance door rattled violently, a loud crash echoing as something or someone attempted to breach the threshold. Maria's heart raced, and she glanced at Zektar. "Are we ready?" "Ready as we can be," he replied, taking position beside her. "We will face them together." A feeling of unity washed over Maria, igniting a fire within her. "Together," she echoed, her voice stronger now. As the door splintered under the continued assault, Maria took a deep breath and prepared for whatever came next. She felt Zektar beside her, a steady presence in the storm. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. In that moment, as the door finally gave way with a deafening crash, Maria felt an unfamiliar sense of determination swell within her. She was ready to protect this place, ready to confront the unknown, and ready to stand beside her unlikely ally. Maria's heart raced, fueled by the adrenaline coursing through her veins. With the emergency lights casting ominous shadows, she gathered her thoughts. "We need to think fast," she said, glancing at Zektar, who was now scanning the area with a sense of urgency. "What resources do we have here?" Zektar straightened, taking a moment to consider. "We have maintenance supplies, tools, and equipment for repairs. We can use these not just for barricading but also to create makeshift weapons. Your ingenuity might be our greatest asset." Maria nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "All right, let's get to work." She hurried to the toolbox, pulling out various items, a heavy wrench, some metal rods, and duct tape. "We can reinforce the door with these and create a barrier," she suggested, her confidence growing as she worked quickly. Zektar joined her, grabbing a sturdy metal sheet. "This will help fortify the door. If we can slow them down, we might have enough time to prepare for an actual confrontation." As Maria watched him, she realized that Zektar was not just an alien with advanced technology, he was also someone who could appreciate human creativity. Have you ever thought about how we humans approach problems differently? Maria asked, working alongside him. We might lack your technology, but we can adapt. It's like when my grandmother taught me to make a delicious meal out of whatever was in the fridge. You learn to work with what you have. Zektar paused, considering her words. I see. Your ability to create from limited resources is impressive. It makes me realize that sometimes, logic alone cannot solve problems. Your instincts play a crucial role. Thanks, Maria said, a smile breaking through the tension. But right now, we need to focus. Let's make this door as strong as possible. As they worked, the sounds of chaos outside grew louder. The dull thuds of impacts echoed against the outer walls, each one sending a shiver down Maria's spine. They're trying to get in, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Do you think they'll break through? Zektar's expression hardened. If they do, we must be ready. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Maria bit her lip, her mind racing. What if they're not just after us? What if they want to sabotage this facility? The energy shield was our only line of defense. That's a valid concern, Zektar replied, securing the metal sheet to the door. If they manage to disrupt this place, it could have catastrophic consequences for your entire planet. Maria felt a wave of determination wash over her. Then we won't let that happen. I won't go down without a fight. She tightened the last bolt she had been working on, stepping back to assess their handiwork. The door now looked more fortified, but Maria knew it wouldn't hold forever. What's next? She asked, trying to keep the fear at bay. Zektar scanned the room, his alien eyes flickering with thought. We could set up traps using the maintenance tools. Perhaps we could rig something to delay their entry. If they are indeed hostile, they might not expect a counterattack. With a new plan forming, Maria felt her heartbeat synchronize with the tension in the air. Let's do it, she said, heading back to the toolbox. We can use these metal rods and some rubber tubing to create tripwires. Something that'll at least slow them down. Excellent idea, Zektar said, his voice filled with encouragement. Your creativity shines in moments of crisis. As they moved quickly, Maria felt a spark of partnership between them. Zektar's calm demeanor balanced her urgency, creating a rhythm that propelled them forward. They worked in tandem, crafting makeshift traps and barricades, all while the sounds of destruction outside intensified. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the facility, causing Maria to stumble. What was that? She exclaimed, instinctively reaching for Zektar's arm. The front entrance, Zektar replied, a flicker of concern crossing his face. They are persistent. Maria took a deep breath, reminding herself of her earlier resolve. We need to finish these traps. If we can just hold them off for a little longer. Her voice trailed off as she focused back on the task at hand. Within moments, they had set up a series of traps just inside the entrance. Maria could hardly believe how quickly they had adapted. She felt the growing sense of unity with Zektar. He was no longer just an alien entity, but a true ally. Let's retreat to a safer area, Zektar urged, glancing toward the sounds of chaos. We need to be ready for the moment they breach the door. Maria nodded, leading the way to the back of the facility, where they could have a clearer view of the entrance. The tension weighed heavily on them, yet she felt a sense of empowerment in taking charge of the situation. As they reached a vantage point, they heard another loud crash, this time followed by the sound of metal scraping against metal. Maria's heart raced. They're almost through. Get ready, Zektar said, his tone low and commanding. Whatever happens next, remember, we stand together. In that moment, Maria understood the gravity of what lay ahead. This was no longer just about saving herself or keeping the facility secure. It was about their partnership, a merging of human ingenuity and alien technology. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. Together, she echoed, her voice steady as she gripped a metal rod tightly in her hands. Let's show them what we're made of. The door shuddered violently, and the sounds of chaos grew louder. Maria's pulse quickened, but she felt ready. Whatever came next, she would face it head-on, drawing on the strength of her newfound ally and the courage that had blossomed within her. Maria's heart raced as the loud crash reverberated through the facility, causing dust to rain down from the ceiling. She steadied herself against the toolbox, her breath coming in quick bursts. They're trying to breach the front entrance, she shouted, her voice barely rising above the cacophony of chaos outside. Zektar's gaze shifted, his alien features momentarily reflecting a mix of concern and focus. Stay focused, Maria. We must reinforce this area, he urged, his voice sharp and commanding. As they scrambled to gather more materials, Maria felt the pressure mounting. The din from outside was relentless, the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against metal echoing through the hall. What if they have advanced technology? We can't rely on these makeshift defenses alone, she exclaimed, glancing nervously at Zektar. Zektar paused, his expression thoughtful. You are correct. If they possess advanced weaponry, Our efforts must be more strategic. He turned to her with a newfound intensity. We need to combine our strengths. Your intuition and my analytical approach can form a more effective plan. Maria felt a flicker of irritation. But your logic alone won't cut it. We need to adapt quickly, not just think about the math of the situation. Sometimes, the human element is what creates the most effective solution. She could see the tension in Zektar's posture, the way his brows knitted together in contemplation. Then let us apply a synthesis of our methods, he proposed, a hint of determination in his voice. We can create diversions using the tools and materials at our disposal, while I monitor their movements with my sensors. All right, let's do it, Maria replied, her tone softening as she realized the potential in working together. We can use the noise from the traps to distract them while we prepare for a more direct confrontation. They split their tasks. Zektar began rigging the metal rods into various mechanisms that would create noise, while Maria focused on fortifying the spaces around them with whatever she could find. As they worked, the air thickened with a sense of collaboration, allowing them to build a bridge over their differences. How do you think they found us? Maria asked, her brow furrowed in thought. It's as if they knew exactly where to strike. Zektar paused his work, looking at her seriously. They might have been tracking this facility's energy signatures. If they can tap into the power grid, they could pinpoint our location with ease. Maria's hands froze, a chill running down her spine. Then we need to cut off that energy source. If they think we're still operational, they won't hesitate to breach us. An astute observation, Zektar acknowledged, nodding appreciatively. However, how do you propose we do that? Maybe we can create a short circuit in the main power line, Maria suggested, already considering the layout of the facility in her mind. If we can overload the system, it might cause a blackout that would give us time to regroup. Zektar regarded her with a mixture of respect and admiration. Your ability to think outside the box is impressive. Let's do this. Together, they set to work. Maria pulled apart the wiring from a nearby control panel, while Zektar modified the power levels, calculating the optimal voltage to create a short circuit. This might cause a chain reaction, he warned, focusing intently on the task. Are you ready? Ready as I'll ever be, Maria replied, feeling a surge of adrenaline. Let's make it count. As she completed the final connections, a sudden jolt of energy surged through the room, followed by a flicker of lights. Now! Zektar shouted, pressing the final button. The facility shuddered as the lights flickered ominously before plunging them into darkness. The alarms blared, red emergency lights blinking sporadically, casting an eerie glow over their makeshift defenses. The sounds outside grew more frantic, the aliens caught off guard by the sudden blackout. What's happening? Maria shouted, her heart racing at the sudden turn of events. She could hear the aliens outside, their voices rising in confusion. It worked! They did not expect us to cut off the power, Zektar replied, a glint of victory in his eyes. But their victory was short-lived. The chaos outside escalated as the aliens began to regroup, their advanced technology allowing them to quickly adapt. They're coordinating. They're going to try to breach in different locations, Zektar exclaimed, urgency lacing his tone. Maria felt a wave of despair wash over her. We can't keep this up forever. We need a new plan, and we need it fast. Zektar, sensing her frustration, placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Listen, we have to trust our instincts, both yours and mine. Let's use this time to set up our traps more strategically. We can create a gauntlet they won't expect. Maria nodded, taking a deep breath to steady herself. You're right. We need to be proactive, not just reactive. They began to reposition the traps they had set earlier, using the sound of the aliens outside to gauge where they should be focused. Maria's mind raced, her human intuition guiding her as she watched Zektar work, impressed by how they were finally starting to understand each other's strengths. As they finished, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of something monumental. The way they had come together, blending their approaches, marked a turning point not just in the battle they faced, but in their relationship as allies. Suddenly, the ground shook violently as an explosive force echoed through the air, sending tremors up Maria's legs. What was that? She gasped, panic rising within her. Zektar's eyes widened. They must have breached a secondary entrance. We need to move now. The tension between them was palpable as they sprinted toward the noise, knowing that whatever lay ahead would test not just their skills, but their newfound partnership. As they dove into the fray, both determined to protect their home, Maria couldn't help but feel that in this moment, they were no longer just a human and an alien, they were a team. As the darkness enveloped the Gamma 7 distribution center, Maria and Zektar stood poised at the precipice of chaos. The alarms blared like sirens, their wailing echoing through the dimly lit hallways. The red emergency lights strobing in rhythmic pulses created an unsettling atmosphere, heightening the tension that hung thick in the air. Now, we wait, Maria whispered, her voice barely audible above the din. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, mixing with a sense of responsibility. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about protecting something bigger than herself. Zektar nodded, his alien features illuminated by the flickering lights. They will not anticipate our next move. Let us use the environment to our advantage. Maria clenched her fists, her resolve hardening. Right, we need to bait them into our traps. She glanced around, her night guard instincts kicking in as she observed the surroundings. We can channel them into the north corridor. That's where we set up the noisemakers. Agreed, Zektar replied, his voice steady. I will monitor their approach and guide you through the sensors. They began to strategize, their minds working in tandem despite their differences. Maria felt a growing sense of leadership blossoming within her. She was no longer just a night guard, she was a protector, ready to face the storm head-on. Suddenly, the facility shook violently as the first wave of aliens breached the outer defenses. Maria's instincts kicked in. Now, she shouted, pushing past her fear. Zektar activated the noisemakers, a cacophony of clanging and buzzing filling the air. The aliens, startled and confused, turned their attention toward the sound. Maria held her breath, watching as a group of the attackers were drawn into the north corridor, just as she had planned. We need to move, she urged, adrenaline surging as the first alien rounded the corner. Zektar's sensors beeped, indicating an influx of approaching enemies. They seemed to be uncoordinated. Their technology is malfunctioning, he noted, a hint of surprise lacing his tone. Maria's eyes widened. You mean we can exploit that? If their tech is down, we can outmaneuver them. Precisely. Their reliance on technology has made them vulnerable to disruptions. We can use this to our advantage. Taking a deep breath, Maria sprang into action. Let's lead them toward the traps. They positioned themselves strategically, waiting for the perfect moment. As more aliens flooded into the corridor, Maria felt a surge of confidence. Now, Zektar commanded, and they triggered the traps, a series of loud bangs echoing through the halls. The aliens stumbled, their advance faltering as confusion spread among their ranks. Maria's heart raced as she witnessed their disarray. It's working, they don't know what to do. Continue to push them back. We can turn this into our victory, Zektar urged, his voice steady, despite the chaos surrounding them. With a renewed sense of purpose, Maria and Zektar worked in unison. They led the aliens into a maze of traps, using every resource at their disposal to create diversions. Each time an alien stumbled, Maria felt a thrill of hope. They were fighting back, proving that they could stand their ground against the encroaching threat. As the battle raged on, Maria noticed a pattern in the aliens' movements. Zektar, look, they're using a similar formation. If we can predict their next move, we can set up a more deadly trap. Zektar's eyes widened with realization. You are correct. Their reliance on technology limits their adaptability. We must exploit their predictability. With a swift series of commands, they adjusted their defenses, focusing on a pivotal point where the aliens were likely to regroup. If we can cut them off here, we can gain the upper hand, Maria declared, her voice steady with determination. Suddenly, a colossal alien, larger and more menacing than the others, emerged from the shadows. Its armor gleamed under the emergency lights, and Maria felt a chill crawl up her spine. What is that? That appears to be their leader, Zektar observed, his tone grave. It could command the others and turn the tide of battle. Maria felt the pressure intensify. We need to stop it before it can rally its forces. Agreed. We must work together to divert its attention, Zektar replied. As the colossal alien moved forward, Maria and Zektar sprang into action. They created a diversion, unleashing a barrage of noise and light to distract the leader. The tactic worked momentarily, causing it to hesitate, but they knew they needed to act fast. Now, while its guard is down, Maria shouted, charging forward with Zektar by her side. They aimed for the vulnerable joints of the alien's armor, focused on exploiting its weaknesses. The fight was fierce, and Maria felt her muscles strain as they dodged the leader's massive strikes. It's stronger than the others, she gasped, adrenaline fueling her movements. Stay focused, Maria. Use its size against it. Zektar shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Drawing upon her training as a night guard, Maria anticipated the alien's movements, ducking and weaving until she spotted an opening. With a burst of energy, she aimed a strike at the alien's knee joint, leveraging her weight to create an impact. The leader stumbled, its balance compromised. Yes, keep pushing, Zektar encouraged, his own strikes finding their mark. As the colossal alien fell to its knees, Maria could see the tide turning. The other aliens hesitated, their leader's faltering presence causing doubt to spread among them. This is it. We need to capitalize on this moment. Zektar and Maria launched a final, coordinated attack. Together, they struck with precision, each blow echoing with the weight of their determination. The alien leader finally collapsed, its body crashing against the ground with a thunderous thud. The remaining aliens shrieked and scattered, their morale shattered. Maria stood panting, her heart racing as she surveyed the chaotic scene. "We did it! We actually did it!" Zektar flashed a triumphant expression. "You have embraced your role as a leader, Maria. Together, we have changed the course of this encounter." Maria allowed herself a moment of disbelief and exhilaration. "But what does this mean for us? For the center?" Zektar turned serious, his gaze piercing. "This victory has shown us that our collaboration is powerful. We must prepare for the repercussions of this battle and the potential for future threats." As the echoes of the battle faded away, Maria felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight was far from over, but she had transformed from a simple night guard into a formidable protector. Whatever came next, she would face it with Zektar by her side. Together, they would forge a new future for the Gamma 7 distribution center. With the chaos settling around them, Maria took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. The world was shifting, and she was determined to meet it head-on. As the colossal aliens surged into view, a chilling silence fell over the chaos. Maria's breath caught in her throat. It towered over its comrades, its skin glistening with a menacing sheen and its eyes glowing with a fierce intensity. This was no ordinary foe, it was the commander, the orchestrator of the invasion. "Zektar, we need to focus. That one is leading the charge," Maria shouted, her mind racing. The noise of the alarms faded into the background as a new sense of urgency took over. "I will redirect the traps towards it," Zektar replied, his voice steady despite the threat. "But we must be cautious, it is likely aware of our tactics now." Maria nodded, her heart pounding with determination. "Let's lure it into the corridor. If we can trap it, we might turn the tide in our favor." Working in unison, they quickly recalibrated their strategy. Maria felt an electric surge of adrenaline as she observed the commander directing its troops, gesturing with its massive hands. It was clear it wasn't just relying on brute force, it was coordinating its allies with a terrifying precision. "We need to disrupt their formation," she urged, pointing to a group of aliens that had begun to regroup. "If we can break their lines, we can create the confusion we need." Zektar's expression shifted as he considered her words. "Indeed, your insights are invaluable, Maria. It seems your intuition is as sharp as the technology we have." She felt a warmth spread through her at his praise, but there was no time to dwell. "Let's set up the traps. If we channel them through the main corridor, we can isolate the commander." Maria took the lead, her instincts guiding her as she moved with purpose through the dimly lit hallways. The soft hum of machinery now felt like the pulsing heartbeat of the facility, echoing her resolve. Zektar followed closely, his sensors scanning for any signs of movement. "Activate the first noisemaker," Maria instructed. The moment the device began to clang and buzz, a wave of aliens turned in their direction, drawn like moths to a flame. "Now!" Zektar called, and they triggered the first trap, a net of energy that snapped into place, catching several of the smaller aliens. The sound of their cries echoed through the corridor, creating an atmosphere of panic. "Perfect!" Maria exclaimed, feeling a rush of exhilaration. "Keep them coming. We can control this." As they lured more aliens into their carefully laid traps, Maria noticed the commander hesitating, its confidence shaken. "Zektar, look, it's losing its grip on them," she pointed out, excitement bubbling in her chest. "We just need to keep the pressure on." "Indeed, but we must not grow complacent," Zektar warned. "The commander will adapt. We need to find a way to exploit its weaknesses before it regains control." Just then, the commander roared, its voice a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. It charged down the corridor, its massive form barreling toward them with an intensity that shook Maria to her core. "Fall back!" Zektar shouted, and they ducked into an adjacent room, narrowly escaping the commander's path. The door slammed shut behind them, the metal shuddering under the impact of the alien's force. "This isn't working. We need to find a way to trap it without putting ourselves in danger," Maria said, her mind racing. She glanced around the room, searching for anything that could give them an edge. "Perhaps the overhead machinery can be utilized," Zektar suggested, his eyes scanning the various components. "We can drop the heavy containers on it, but we must act quickly." "Let's do it," Maria agreed, adrenaline surging through her veins. The two quickly devised a plan, positioning themselves strategically near the control panel. "On my mark," Zektar instructed, his voice steady. "We will create a distraction that draws the commander in." Maria took a deep breath, steeling herself as she prepared to execute their plan. "Now," she shouted, slamming her hand down on the panel. The machinery whirred to life, and a series of heavy containers began to lower from the ceiling. The loud grinding sound caught the attention of the commander, and it turned, its eyes narrowing as it focused on the source of the noise. "Now, release!" Zektar yelled. They activated the mechanism, and the containers dropped, crashing down onto the commander with a deafening thud. For a moment, stunned silence filled the room. The dust settled, and Maria held her breath, anxiety gnawing at her insides. Had they succeeded? Slowly, the dust began to clear, revealing the commander encased beneath the fallen containers, struggling to free itself. "It's trapped!" Maria exclaimed, a rush of triumph flooding through her. "We did it!" Zektar nodded, his eyes wide with admiration. "Your unconventional approach has proven to be effective, Maria. Your instincts, your adaptability, they are unlike anything I have encountered." The realization of what they had accomplished washed over them both, solidifying the bond they had formed through their cooperative efforts. Maria felt a warmth spread within her. This was more than just a partnership born of necessity. They had become friends, allies forged in the fires of adversity. But as they caught their breath, a new challenge loomed. The remaining aliens, seeing their commander incapacitated, began to retreat. "What now?" Maria asked, her heart pounding. "We must maintain control over the facility and ensure they do not regroup," Zektar replied, his expression focused. "If we can convince them that their commander's defeat signals our superiority, they may reconsider their course of action." Maria took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. "It's time to show them that humanity is not to be underestimated. We can use the surveillance systems to broadcast our victory, to declare our strength directly to them." Zektar's eyes glimmered with excitement. "Yes, a show of unity and strength will deter further aggression." With newfound purpose, they worked together to set up the communication systems, broadcasting their message of resilience and strength throughout the facility. As Maria prepared to deliver their message, she realized that the event had transformed her. She was no longer just a night guard, she was a leader, an ambassador of cooperation between their species. "We can do this, Zektar," Maria said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. "Together, we can create a future where we stand as equals." Zektar smiled, a look of fierce determination on his face. "Indeed, Maria, today marks a new beginning for both our peoples." As they sent their message out into the universe, Maria felt a sense of hope blossom within her. They had not only defended their home but had also forged a bond that transcended their differences, a true partnership between human and alien. And in that moment, the potential for a future filled with collaboration and understanding lay before them, waiting to be shaped by their hands. As the dust settled from the chaos of battle, Maria and Zektar emerged from the dimly lit corridor, their hearts racing yet filled with a profound sense of accomplishment. The commander, ensnared by their traps, had been subdued, and the remaining aliens were retreating, panic etched across their features. Maria took a moment to catch her breath, her chest heaving as she glanced at her newfound ally, who looked equally exhausted yet exhilarated. "Did we really just do that?" Maria asked, disbelief lacing her voice. The enormity of their victory began to sink in, alongside the realization that they had stood together against an invasion. Zektar turned to her, his large eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and respect. "Indeed, Maria, your instincts were crucial in turning the tide. Together, we demonstrated that even in the face of overwhelming odds, collaboration can yield incredible results." His voice was steady, yet a hint of warmth made it clear how much he valued their partnership. Maria felt a swell of pride at his words. "But what does this mean for us now? For humanity and your people?" she pressed, her mind racing with possibilities. They had not only defended their home but had also forged a bond that transcended species. Zektar paused, considering her question. "This victory is but the beginning. It shows that humanity is not to be underestimated. Your resourcefulness and courage have proven that our worlds can unite against common threats. Together, we can learn from each other, combining human ingenuity with our advanced technologies to create a peaceful future." As they walked through the now silent distribution center, Maria's thoughts drifted to the people she had seen before the invasion, a mix of humans and aliens, each going about their daily lives. "We need to establish a new protocol for interspecies cooperation," she suggested, her mind racing with ideas. "We can create an environment where we share knowledge and resources, where humans and aliens work side by side." Zektar nodded vigorously, his enthusiasm evident. "Yes, a center of unity, where we can showcase the strengths of both our species. It could serve as a model for other planets. Imagine the potential for collaboration across the galaxy." Maria's eyes sparkled with excitement as she envisioned the possibilities. "We can invite representatives from different species to discuss their cultures, technologies, and ideas. We could even host joint training sessions. This way, we can prepare for any future threats while fostering understanding and friendship." "Your vision is inspiring, Maria. It is essential for the future of our intergalactic relations," Zektar replied, his tone filled with admiration. "But we must also be cautious. We cannot ignore that the commander's forces might regroup. We need to ensure our defenses are strong while we promote this new unity." Maria agreed. Let's set up a task force to develop both a security plan and a program for collaboration. We should also reach out to other human and alien leaders to gain their support. The vision of a united front against future threats ignited a fire within her. As they reached the central control hub of the distribution center, the faint glow of the screens illuminated their faces. Maria pressed a button, and the main screen flickered to life, displaying a live feed of the facility's perimeter. We'll need to monitor any unusual activity, she said, scanning the images of the outer areas. Agreed, Zektar replied, his gaze steady. But we must also celebrate our achievements. This is a moment for our people to come together, to recognize the strength we possess when united. With determination, Maria set to work. They began drafting a plan to not only fortify their defenses but also to create a cultural exchange program. As the hours went by, they worked tirelessly, fueled by a shared passion for a brighter future. Days turned into weeks, and news of their success spread across the galaxy. The Gamma 7 Distribution Center transformed into a symbol of unity, showcasing the power of human ingenuity and alien technology working in harmony. Representatives from various species arrived, eager to learn and share. Maria stood at the forefront of this movement, her heart swelling with pride as she observed the progress they had made. She watched as humans and aliens collaborated on projects, exchanged ideas, and built friendships. It was a sight she had once only dreamed of, now a vibrant reality. One day, as she walked through the bustling center, Maria spotted Zektar deep in conversation with a group of young aliens. They were laughing, the air filled with a sense of camaraderie. Maria couldn't help but smile. She had become a bridge between cultures, inspiring others to embrace diversity and collaboration. Maria, Zektar called, waving her over. You must hear their stories. They are eager to learn about human traditions. As she joined them, Maria felt a rush of warmth. The laughter and connection in the room filled her with hope. What have you been discussing? She asked, her curiosity piqued. We were sharing tales of our respective worlds, one young alien replied, his eyes wide with excitement, and how we can work together to protect our homes. Maria's heart swelled at the realization that they were not only fostering cooperation but also building friendships that would last a lifetime. That's fantastic. Let's make sure we document these stories. They are vital to understanding our shared history. As the day wore on, Maria reflected on how far they had come. The invasion had been a catalyst for change, a moment that had forged an unbreakable bond between her and Zektar, and between humanity and the aliens. Looking out at the bustling activity within the Gamma 7 Distribution Center, she felt an overwhelming sense of hope. The future was bright, and the lessons learned would resonate throughout the galaxy. Together, they had not only defended their home but had also paved the way for a new era of understanding and cooperation. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the center, Maria turned to Zektar. We did it, didn't we? We changed the narrative. Yes, he replied, a proud smile on his face. And we will continue to do so, one day at a time. With renewed determination, Maria knew that their journey was just beginning. The power of unity and strength would deter further aggression, and together, they would build a future where cooperation reigns supreme. The Gamma 7 would forever be a beacon of hope, a testament to the everyday heroism that thrived when worlds came together.